What is going on, guys? Correct 1287 here, bringing you yet another Battlefield 4 weapon review. This time going to be looking at the AEK-971. Just as in Battlefield 3, this gun excels at close range. Is it the best close range weapon? Well, it kind of depends on the stats. Obviously, things like the FAMAS and the Scorpion and the Asval are going to have a higher DPS at close range, but that is assuming that every shot were to connect and things like that. So let's take a look at the gun. Now, primarily, when I choose a weapon, if I'm wanting something that's just a fun gun to use, then yeah, I might go with something like the FAMAS. But if I'm wanting a gun that I'm actually going to be using in a quote-unquote try-hard type of situation, I'm going to want a gun that is very versatile. This is why guns typically like the Ace 23 or the M416, those are typically the most commonly used weapons because of how versatile they are. But the AEK is really on the borderline of being versatile and being something that excels so much at close range that it's almost not too effective of a long range type of weapon. So let's look at the actual stats of the gun. So here in this image, you'll see I've got it up compared to the AK-12, of course, because that is the starting weapon. So it's going to be the base for the comparisons. And I've got the naked AK-12 in the first column, the naked AEK-971 in the second column, and then in the third column, I've got the AK-12 in my typical setup. I have no barrel attachments. Sometimes I'll put on the suppressor, but suppressor's typically just good for close range because at far ranges, you're not going to show up on someone's radar anyway because you're out of the radar, the minimap's range, and it affects your travel time, your projectile velocity, so you don't want that for trying to get those long-range moving targets. But I do have the potato stubby grip on there so that you get that better bullet spread per shot, which helps for those long-range targets. Now for the AEK-971, my typical setup is going to be the compensator to reduce some of its horizontal recoils and the angled/folding grip to reduce that first shot recoil multiplier, because this gun does have a significant amount of recoil in addition to its first shot recoil multiplier, so you really want to do that so that you are able to burst fire effectively. And then when I'm doing extreme close quarters with the AEK, I will rock out the suppressor again so I stay off minimaps, and you don't really need the that maximum amount of muzzle velocity, and then rocking out the ergo vertical grip because you're going to be on the move a lot and you want to make sure that your bullet spread is not going to be too affected when aim down sight and hip fire moving. So let's look at some of the key stats. Obviously, AEK excels in the rate of fire department at 900 rounds per minute, destroying the AK-12. Muzzle velocity, not all that bad. Max distance, it's less, but not all that bad. It's just barely short, and again, you're not going to be using this weapon for those massive long-range kills anyways. As for the reload times, the AEK does take a hit here. The AK-12 doesn't have the fastest, and the AEK-971 doesn't have the slowest. So it's kind of a mid-ground here. With it being a close-range weapon, you definitely would like it to be a little quicker, but out of some of the other fast-shooting guns out there, like the FAMAS and the L85A2, it's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst because those two guns are slower in the reload department. Now, as for the recoil, you'll actually see it doesn't have that drastic a recoil. There's definitely worse out there. It actually has a good sweet spot for its recoil. It has a good right recoil bias of 0.3. In looking at the that main primary setup that I use with the compensator and angled foregrip, you got that 0.3 to the right and 0.1125 to the left. That is not bad at all. You can easily predict how it's going to jump up and to the right. So that's real solid. Now, if you're tossing on the angled foregrip, the angle/folding grip, you'll see that its first shot recoil multiplier drops down by almost a full point. It goes from 3 to 2.01, and that puts it right there next to my AK-12 with the potato stubby grip setup. It's actually less of a first shot recoil multiplier. So that makes it a real solid burst firing gun that really helps it at those medium to long ranges and still maintains its dominance at close range. And then in looking at the bullet spread, you'll see it's actually very, very close in terms of the spread department. Again, helping it to be a gun that is fairly versatile at medium and close range. The only thing is that its spread increase per shot does take a little hike up, not all that drastic, but again, that is why we are putting the folding and angled grip on there so that you can burst fire it more often. You can burst it at 5 shots rather than having to wait to 10 shots to burst it. So yeah, there you guys have it. It is a very dominant gun at close range. Not the most, but it is very, very dominant, and it's still able to hold its own quite well at medium to long range, something that like weapons such as the FAMAS and the Scorpion, those can't quite claim fame to. So this gun, it's kind of all over the place, and it's such a great gun. As you guys saw there in the footage, that was all from one round. I did very little editing. It was actually a pretty quick round, and I did very well with it in a very chaotic game mode. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the gameplay, and check this gun out if you have not already. It might take you a bit to get used to the recoil, but toss that angled foregrip on there, and you should be able to excel well at medium ranges and maybe even far range. Hope you guys have enjoyed all of it. Have a good one. Ta-ta.